Welcome everyone. My name is Nikos, aka Sephir, and this is Out of the Box, EDH. Tonight, I will end my unique builds with the Tarkir Dragon cycle with the Temur, and more specifically, with Ureni, the song Unending. 8 CMC, Temur colors, 10-10 Spirit Dragon. She's a big girl. Flying, protection from white and black. When Ureni enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and/or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. So, we have a huge commander with self-build protection of the colors that have the biggest number of spot removals, and it deals damage when it enters. The way I see it, there are two ways to build with this commander on the helm. The first one, which I expect will be the most popular one, is to round as much as possible and slam the commander as fast as possible, which will also lean towards landfall matters mechanics. The second one, which I will build, is a pure control strategy. Sure, you can use ramp, but ramp will not be important in this deck. In fact, it is so unimportant that I will build my deck with a very minimum ramp at all. In this strategy, you are not in a hurry. You are not trying to present your strategy faster than the other decks. No. In this deck, we play the reactive game. We control the board with counters and removals, both spot and mass. But mass removals will not be the only way the deck has for card advantage, since we will use many card draw options as well. Finally, the deck will be mostly focused in instants and sorceries. The less permanents you have on our board, the less likely our stuff is going to get removed. How do we find the space for all this stuff? As I said earlier, we'll play just a minimum package of ramp. As long as we just make our land drops one per turn, at some point we will play our commander with some backup protection, but remember, it already has protection from black and white, empty the board, and just finish our opponents. Let's move to the actual cards of the deck. Removal is an essential part of the deck. We will start with the classics Chaos Warp and Beast Within. Blue is really efficient with removal nowadays, with Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, and Reality Shift. Sink into Stupor and Capsize will be our bound spells of choice, while Force of Vigor and Boseiju who Endures are specialized against those pesky artifacts and enchantments. Fury and Punishing Fire are the damage-based spot removals of choice, and finally, Corrupted Conscience and Treachery offer us a different kind of removal, and in the case of Corrupted Conscience, a way to one-shot our opponents if we enchant our commander with it. Mass removal is also essential to our plan, both providing for us important card advantage and valuable time, since they will slow down our opponents enough for us to catch them up with a big dragon. We will start with Blasphemous Act, a staple in red, and we will continue with Chain Reaction. Season of Weaving is a brilliant multi-tool that can offer both card advantage and mass bounce, while Aether Spouts and Evacuation will also serve as well. Finally, Thing in the Ice is one of the few permanents that we will actually run that can serve both as an early blocker and as a mass bounce option. Obviously, nothing beats good old Cyclonic Rift, but I have chosen different game changers for this deck and I want to keep it in a 3 power level maximum. It is already more powerful than my usual lists, easily able to keep up with what we would call a power level 8 with the old system. Let's move to the card advantage engines. There is a number of them that we can use, and not all of them are around card drawing. For example, we will use the synergy of Punishing Fire and Grove the Barn Willows, not only to be able to play our Punishing Fire again and again as a removal for small targets, but mostly to use Punishing Fire as something to discard in a number of our cards that say so. The before mentioned Capsize, as well as trade routes in the late game when we will have enough mana to do so, will be used with Mystic Sanctuary quite often to actually reuse our mass removals again and again and actually lock the game in our favor. Seasons Past is a favorite of mine, and its continuous dance with tutors like Mystical Tutor or Gamble is phenomenal. Other than that, we will use Pulse of the Grid as a continuous card advantage tool, and remember, you can always discard Punishing Fire to that. Inspiring Refrain will be innocent enough that no one will really care for it until they realize it had drew you more than 8 cards total. And Lorien Revealed is a card that will be useful for both not missing a land drop and drawing 3 extra cards in times of need. Imposing Grandier can offer us massive card draw, and Search for Askanda is also one of the very few non-land permanents that we will run, but it can quickly get turned into a land with card advantage stapled in it. Finally, if you have the budget for it, Time Spiral is an essentially free spell that can increase the cards in your hand back to 7 while bring Havoc to the table, especially if it is played after a mass bounce spell. The deck will use its fair number of tutors. There will be some important lands, so both Crop Rotation and Tempt with Discovery are in. Mystical Tutor and Gamble are great, and they can both bring Seasons Past to start the card advantage engine going. Finally, Expedition Map and Urza's Cave can also be used to bring essential lands to our hand. The deck also plays a number of cantrips to smooth its card draws. Ponder, Preordain, and Serum Visions are all staples, while Brainstorm should be best used to put on our top the worst cards in our hand and shuffle them away with one of our various shuffle effects. Nothing beats defense like a counter does, of course. We have the usuals An Offer You Can't Refuse and Swansong, as well as Arcane Denial and the classic counterspell. Muddle the Mixture can be used both as a counter and as a tutor for various pieces, while Izzet Charm can be either a situational counterspell, a removal, or a looting option. Until we get to play our commander, our defense is not dependent in the removal package alone. We will also use a number of fog effects. Classic Fog, Undergrowth, that is essentially a fog with a kicker that makes red creatures ignore its effect. Moment's Peace and Tangle are just excellent for their CMC. Snag is essentially free if we discard a forest, while Arachnogenesis and Galadrim Ambush can provide a small army for future blockings. Jaheira's Respite is a very functional fog spell and ramp, while finally, since we control no creatures other than our commander, a Range of Power can be used both defensively to fog an attack or offensively to actively kill the player with the biggest board. There is a number of recursion spells that we play in the deck. There is, of course, the before mentioned Seasons Past, but we will also use Balaged Recovery, Noxious Revival, and Regrowth. We move to the ramp. As I mentioned at the start, it is a minimum package of the usual Sacred 5 of the Green Ramp, aka Farsic, Rampant Growth, Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, and Sakura Tribuilder. Along with the before mentioned Tempt with Discovery and Jaheira's Respite, this is it. Other than the few permanents that we mentioned, we'll use a few more specifically a Primal Amulet, which will help immensely since the vast majority of the deck are instants and sorceries, but the back is even more useful since it doubles the power of a spell, be it card draw, removal, or whatever. We will use a Propaganda. Rarely does Propaganda effects become targets of removals, and we can easily protect it with our counters package if needed. Furthermore, it makes us less of an attractive attacking target, forcing our opponents to attack one another. Finally, trade routes can help us not only bounce our Mystic Sanctuary, but also turn any land in our hand into card draw if we happen to mana flood. We are playing very few ramp spells, and we want to not miss land drops. That means a higher land count than usual. We are left with 38 lands plus the 2 MDFC cards that we have already mentioned. We also already mentioned Grove of the Banwillows, Bosejuhu and Urs, Mystic Sanctuary, and Urza's Cave. We will also obviously use the 3 fetch lands, the 3 shock lands, and the 3 bond lands. The usuals Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, and the appropriate trio are in, as is Reliquary Tower, a card with increased importance in this list. Maze of Ith can keep attackers out of bay, while Urza Saga can be used to provide small bodies for blocks and, in the end, Tutor for Expedition Map, aka any other land in the deck. This leaves us with 10 slots for basics. We will give greater priority to the islands and forests, due to the protection package of the list. And that's it. That's my Ureni list. A pure Temur control. I will put the list in the description below. And if you liked it, consider to come and join my Discord, where all my personal and public lists are uploaded. See you around! Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.